In the Senate Judiciary Committee, where rumors of scandal can bring down empires, one question about a crumpled paper bag full of $50,000 in cash set off a firestorm. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a Democrat from Rhode Island known for cutting through the fog of government, locked eyes with Pam Bondi, the Trump-appointed Attorney General who has been a lightning rod for criticism because of her unwavering loyalty to the administration. It was October 2025, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Not only was the fate of long-forgotten investigations into Jeffrey Epstein's web of influence at stake, but also the credibility of a Justice Department that was accused of being selectively blind. When Whitehouse pushed Bondi on payoffs, sealed testimonies, and unflushed suspicions that linked back to Donald Trump, the conversation turned into a brutal standoff, with personal insults flying like daggers. This showed how divided America is in its quest for accountability. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a vote on who has power, who is corrupt, and who gets to decide what stays hidden.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bondi, good morning.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review
different question.
by the FBI agents,
That's a
by
different
Department
question.
of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Mr. Whitehouse, Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan
I can see I'm not going to get a straight answer from you to a very simple question.
By the FBI agents and the DOJ. They found no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and you rail against dark money.
Wait a second.
You work with dark money groups all the time, Senator Whitehouse.
Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the $50,000 payment to Mr. Homan was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
The questions here are actually pretty specific. So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR, and to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax returns? Pretty simple questions. Homan was the same guy who said there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction. Yeah. What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's all pending litigation,
misconduct?
Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Even public ones?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
So, Kash Patel told this committee that his grand jury testimony after immunization, after initially pleading the Fifth, was, and I quote, sealed by the Department of Justice. How and when and why was his testimony sealed, and by whom?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed with you.
No, the question is, was it or was it not sealed?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Well, he also said that he worked with the Department of Justice to have his transcript released publicly. How and when was his transcript released? Presumably, if he released it publicly, that's something you can discuss because it's public.
Well, Senator, I believe you discussed that with Director Patel.
And I'm asking you because he said the Department of Justice made this decision and you run the Department of Justice.
I would refer that to Director Patel.
Even though you run the Department of Justice and he testified that the Department of Justice released his transcript publicly.
If it is released publicly, we will get you a copy, Senator, gladly.
If being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact. Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But, Senator, did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you? This investigation has been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex Acosta that?
And Patel came to office. You said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they are called suspicious activity reports that there might be suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at zero of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him. You don't know anything about that? Okay. Here's what well, no, we cut to something else. The Marshal Service is supposed to protect our federal judges. I have asked repeatedly for the Marshal Service to let me know if they are investigating or being inhibited from investigating whether or not there is orchestration of threats against federal judges, whether under either conspiracy laws or racketeering enterprise laws or aiding and abetting laws, whatever. But as you know, there's the person who says the threat, and then there may very well be somebody orchestrating the threat behind them. Is the Marshal Service allowed to investigate orchestration of threats, and do you know if they've taken one step to do so?
May I answer the question, Chairman Grassley? The time has expired.
I think it's the convention of the committee that if I've started my question in my time, you may answer the question.
I was asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question, Chairman.
Oh, please go ahead. I thought you said you didn't want to answer it. I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry.
Thank you. Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with Director Serralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges,
including orchestration,
who threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo. Thank you.
Okay. Before Cornyn speaks, I get kind of amused about my Democratic colleagues bringing up Treasury suspicious activity reports regarding Epstein. When Senator Johnson and I issued our Biden family reports in 2020, we used information from these very same type of documents. And you know what? We were criticized by our Democratic colleagues for doing so, and for years they ignored the evidence of the Biden family criminality. I don't think my colleagues can have it both ways.
Undeterred, Whitehouse refocused on Halper's ties to broader scandals, invoking the informant's alleged threats against New York Mayor Eric Adams over a stalled deal. He said if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office up his butt saying where the hell is the agreement. This led seamlessly into another thread. The Office of Professional Responsibility, OPR, probe into prosecutor Emil Bove's conduct, overseen at the time by Judge A. Marvin Quattlebaum III, whom Bondi corrected as the Honorable Judge A. Marvin J. Bove III. Whitehouse demanded updates on the investigation's status. Bondi shut it down cold. It's all pending litigation. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters. When pressed on OPR's customary public summaries, she doubled down. I'm not going to discuss personnel matters, even public ones. The confrontation deepened as Whitehouse shifted to Kash Patel, the FBI director whose past immunized grand jury testimony had become a flashpoint. Patel had claimed his testimony was sealed by the Department of Justice, then contradicted himself by saying he collaborated with the DOJ to release the transcript publicly. Whitehouse demanded clarity. How, when, and why was it sealed? By whom? And if released, where was the copy? Bondi stonewalled again. I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed, before deferring to Patel himself. Even though you run the Department of Justice, Whitehouse retorted, underscoring the absurdity of the runaround. At the hearing's emotional apex, Whitehouse plunged into the Epstein morass, a specter that has haunted U.S. politics for over a decade. Citing Treasury's suspicious activity reports, SRs, hundreds funneled automatically to the DOJ regarding Epstein's accounts, he asked point blank, how many had Bondi or Patel investigated? Her response was a counterpunch. I'm not sure if you're concerned because YouTube money. Did you receive funds from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice? in 2018 and 2024. The accusation hung heavy, implying hypocrisy. Bondi pressed further, questioning why Whitehouse hadn't grilled Merrick Garland on the matter during his tenure, and noting that Patel had pledged to revisit Epstein upon taking office. Yet, by Whitehouse's count, 0 SARS had been touched. The senator then broached a chilling allegation from public reporting. Epstein allegedly showed associates photos of then-President Trump with half-naked young women. Had the FBI uncovered such images in their raids on Epstein's safes or properties? Bondi's reply was a blistering deflection. You sit here and make scurrilous remarks once again, trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants. She highlighted a neighboring Democratic senator's alleged efforts to suppress Epstein's flight logs, framing Whitehouse's questions as partisan theater rather than substantive pursuit. As Whitehouse's time waned, he pivoted to threats against federal judges, a systemic vulnerability in an era of rising political violence. He queried whether the U.S. Marshals Service, tasked with judicial protection, was empowered to probe orchestrators behind individual threats, potentially under conspiracy or RICO statutes. Bondi, through Chairman Grassley, extended an olive branch. I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you with Director Ronald Serold of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. The session closed on a partisan note, with Grassley yielding to a Republican interjection from an unnamed colleague, likely Senator Ron Johnson, given the context, who mocked Democratic fixation on Epstein SARS. Senator Johnson and I issued our Biden family reports in 2020, using information from these very same types of documents, the speaker noted, decrying years of Democratic dismissal as evidence of Biden family criminality. It was a stark reminder. In this chamber, every accusation carries its mirror image. No earth-shattering outcomes emerged from the hearing. No indictments, no declassifications, no mea culpas. Bondi's deflections held firm, leaving Whitehouse's queries unresolved and slated for follow-up via questions for the record, QFRS. Yet the confrontation laid bare the hearing's true gravity. A Justice Department under Trump 2.0, accused of shielding allies while pursuing perceived foes, all while Epstein's unanswered questions loomed like ghosts. For Whitehouse, it was a valiant stab at transparency in a system rigged for opacity. For Bondi, a masterclass in controlled combustion. In the end, the $50,000 paper bag, and the shadows it evoked, remained unopened, a symbol of inquiries that endure but rarely resolve. As the gavel fell, one truth rang clear. In Washington's endless arena, in the Senate Judiciary Committee, where rumors of scandal can bring down empires, one question about a crumpled paper bag full of $50,000 in cash set off a firestorm. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a Democrat from Rhode Island known for cutting through the fog of government, locked eyes with Pam Bondi, the Trump-appointed Attorney General who has been a lightning rod for criticism because of her unwavering loyalty to the administration. It was October 2025, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Not only was the fate of long-forgotten investigations into Jeffrey Epstein's web of influence at stake, but also the credibility of a Justice Department that was accused of being selectively blind. When Whitehouse pushed Bondi on payoffs, sealed testimonies, and unflushed suspicions that linked back to Donald Trump, the conversation turned into a brutal standoff, with personal insults flying like daggers. This showed how divided America is in its quest for accountability. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a vote on who has power, who is corrupt, and who gets to decide what stays hidden.